Okay, we're going to get started. Thank you all for joining. Really appreciate you following and listening to Berbay's webinars. Unprecedented, amidst the chaos, trying times, uncertain times. How many have you heard these words over the last 12 months? I know I have probably 10 times a day. A lot has changed this year. For lawyers, the courts closed. For realtors, the in-house showings closed. People had to go to virtual tours. For property managers, tenants were trying to get out of leases. For financial firms, they were trying to figure out all the federal programs from SBA and PPP. So it really, everyone was doing differently this year. I know just as a business owner, managing furloughs and cutting expenses, and dealing with the changes, just, everyday changes with new federal programs. Personally, I know it was very difficult. I've talked to everyone who have children and have become, educators and a full-time chef, and maybe even managing some furloughs within the household. So I think that a lot of us have abandoned our goals this year, this last 12 months, and really priorities have shifted. And that's what we're here to talk about, because not only have priorities shifted, but so should your marketing. And I'm going to tell you how your marketing should change in this new climate. So the first thing that I want to do, of course, is introduce everyone that is my wonderful team here. This is Berbay Marketing Public Relations. This is our wonderful team of women. We have really specialized in working with three kinds of clients: law firms, financial firms, and real estate companies. And we really focus on increasing visibility and reinforcing credibility and getting your phone to ring. So I want to start by talking a little bit about how the marketing landscape has changed. So there's a few things that have really changed over the last 12 months. One is ad spending has hit rock bottom. I think for most of you who are business owners and had ads, a lot of you had to cut back because you were just trying to operate a little bit more leanly, or maybe just make sure that you weren't going to furlough employees. So a lot of ad spending just plummeted. The media industry, I'm going to go counterclockwise here. The media industry was ravaged. I mean, public relations has changed dramatically. First of all, the media industry dealt with a lot of layoffs and furloughs as well, a lot of shrinking newsrooms. Every reporter became a healthcare reporter, and really it became a lot harder to stand out and a lot harder to get those kinds of opportunities that you would get prior. The other piece that's changed dramatically is people are spending a lot more time online. I think we can all relate to this. And mobile usage alone has increased by over 400%. People are using different kinds of platforms. TikTok is one of them. I know I've spent more time on TikTok this last 12 months than I thought I would ever spend on. And really, it's just an example that people are tuning into things in a different way, which we'll talk about a little bit more. The other piece that's changed dramatically is messaging. You cannot be tone deaf in this market. You cannot pretend that things are just the same. So while things are going on in the national headlines, you can't just go around business as usual. The other piece is that in-person networking and events came to a screeching halt. And I think we can all agree that virtual networking is just not the same. And lastly is really just rethinking relationships with clients. I think our relationships in general have changed. I feel like a lot has strengthened over this time. But this is all sort of what's going on in the marketing landscape. So what do you do with this, right? So how do you stand out in this new world? And this is what I love. This is really literally and figuratively, because I saw this mask in the beginning. One of the things that always disturbed me in this COVID era is that the mask really covers everybody's faces. And I rely so much on lip reading. And I think that everybody looks the same. And so when I saw this mask for the first time, I loved it. I just thought wow, how different this is. You can still see the person's face. This was actually invented for people who are deaf or hard of hearing because they rely so much on the lips. So standing out has always really been the key to marketing. How do you stand out among your competitors? How do you stand out among the noise, the clutter that's out there? And really today, I'm going to focus on 4 tips, 4 very simple tips that you can take home to your desk and implement and really sort of just tweak the way that you've been doing things. So without further ado, I'll start with number 1. So the first thing is you need to demonstrate your value differently. As I had mentioned, 2020 experiences and into this year has really changed what clients value. And this is the time to reimagine it. So think about some of the new services that you are offering because of this pandemic. Think about the kinds of challenges that clients are dealing with. I'll give you a couple of examples, and I did this earlier. What happened to litigation? It slowed dramatically. What is that going to mean for people's case? In the financial world, dealing and navigating with the federal loans and trying to figure out, am I eligible? Am I not? What do I consider? What don't I consider? I'm sure if you all look in some way, shape, or form, your services changed or tweaked. So one of the things that you want to consider doing is sharing your learned knowledge. So this is really, really important. You need to share what you've learned over the last year and write about it. And so clients, for example, potential clients are really trying to prepare for the next normal. We get a lot of calls and they ask us, how do I stand out there? What do I do in this world? Do I market? Should I wait until things clear up? I mean, we get a lot of questions. And so we really try to share via different platforms how things have changed and be specific about what people are doing. And this is actually the impetus for this webinar. So I want to give you a couple examples. So these are all different forums. So the purpose is to show you that you can pick the forum that suits you. Okay, not everyone's going to be on TikTok. I get that. So one example is a blog, home buying during COVID-19. So one of the things for realtors is when things started shifting to virtual home tours, it's like, how do you tour a home virtually? Like, what are the things that you should be looking for as a buyer? This was really difficult for realtors in the beginning because I don't think that people knew how to do those virtual tours. As lawyers, there were a lot of changes in the law. I mean, AB 1867 is one example, the Supplemental Paid Sick Leave Act. So this was an example of a lawyer who was sharing some of the changes on social media. Right next to it is a lawyer who is very prominent on TikTok. This is unique. Lawyers are new to TikTok, or fairly new, I should say. There's only a few leaders, but they really take the time to share some different videos. And again, how it relates to today's times. And then at the bottom, you're going to see 2 vlogs. One was for a trademark lawyer who talked about some of the changes in IP as it relates to the last 12 months. And another was related to property management in the era of COVID. So these are some examples. Again, I think that the point is to share the learned knowledge and to pick the channel that suits you. One thing that's really important is you have to do it consistently. I use this example a lot. I'm sure many of you, as you drive in the car, you might pass billboards, or maybe if you in New York, it could be in the subway stations or seeing ads on the trains. But it's not the first time that you see the ad or the billboard or the second or the third. It's really the 10th or the 15th or the 20th that you start to remember it. I mean, I can tell you along the route that I drive pretty regularly, I know all the billboards, and I probably can even remember the phone numbers on them because I pass them so much. So consistency is really important. So share your learned knowledge, pick the channel that suits you best, and do it consistently. The other thing to consider is updating your bio. I can't tell you, I think that every time I read a bio, I can tell how stale it is. And I would say 90% of the bios that I read feel very stale. Again, explain maybe that there's a new emerged emphasis. So like if you're a financial firm, I think that you should be highlighting some of the federal programs immediately in your bio. It doesn't mean that that has to be a permanent fixture on your website. That can change. If you're a lawyer, same thing. Think about the new emphasis, the new challenges that have emerged and how you can address those. I want to tell you that people are looking for this information. Potential clients are seeking this information. So it's really, really important. And these are not expensive initiatives. You can really take the time to rewrite your bio or have someone help you in your office, or, partner with an agency like ours. This is the kind of time to do it and really just reflect the times. So the second tip that I want to give you is to stay closer to your clients and prospective clients. I think that we live strangely in a much more connected world these days, even though we all probably haven't seen our close friends and families for some time. I think that people just want to be engaged differently. I mean, how often are you asked, how are you, or how your family is, or hope you're healthy and safe? I mean, that's not going to be swept under the rug. I think that that's still very important to people. And I know when I talk to certain clients or potential clients, I get to know them on a much more personal level now, just given the situation that we're in. Two is that people have just gotten closer by sheer fact of the time that they've spent at home. I mean, maybe you're talking to more people on the phone or Zoom or FaceTime. I think that has started to, again, change the way that people want to be engaged with. The other thing about spending more time at home is that people are reading more, they're tuning in longer. We still have short attention spans, so don't get excited that you can now put, a 4-minute video up and expect it to be listened to from start to finish. But they are tuning in longer, and in just general, tuning into different platforms. As I mentioned, TikTok. That's a platform that's skyrocketed in the last 12 months. So, okay, this is great. It's great to see that people are more connected, but what do you do with this information? How do you change your marketing? So the first thing that you need to consider is how you regularly communicate with your network. I think that a lot of people in the beginning, when COVID first hit, did this really well. I know I got calls from all of our vendors and service providers talking about their services that they provide us and what to do, et cetera. So I felt like that really tapered off over the last 6 to 8 months. I felt a lot of that in the beginning. So think about the ways that you can really stay in front of people. One of the most important things that you can think about is a concerted effort to connect. I think a lot of people fly under the radar because you just don't think of them. Consider coming up with a list of people that you really want to stay in front of and not lose that connection with. I think that this can be really important when, whether it's scheduling reminders on your calendar, keeping it simple, like maybe I'll call them once a quarter, or maybe I can share an article with them that I thought would interest them. Or maybe I know that they have their kid's birthday is coming up, or their mother is sick. There's something that you know about them personally that you can touch base with them on. It seems like it's all very organized in your mind, but a lot of people forget. I know if I don't have my lists and my reminders in my calendar, I forget everything. So it's really important to have concerted and specific efforts to do this. The other thing is pick up the phone. I can't tell you how many people have told me that this is really like a novelty now. I do believe that people are a little bit tired of Zoom and getting some Zoom fatigue. I think that people like when people just give you a call. I know I like getting the phone call. So people just appreciate that now. So just consider picking up the phone. And then the other thing is really, and I can't stress this enough, which is it's really the core of your marketing, which is updating your database. We were just speaking with a client about this morning who has a really fantastic email marketing campaign, but really need a more concerted effort to update their database and add more of the people that they've been communicating with. They've got a big staff, and I'm sure that they're really not adding as much of their connections as they should. So think about your database as sort of your incoming and outgoing referral system. If your database is not up to date or it's non-existent, it's really a foundational effort that you're missing out on. And I want to give you some examples of this. So we work with a bankruptcy law firm. And when the pandemic first hit, it was really important for them to get out there and position themselves as a law firm that can really help troubled companies, whether that's out of court restructurings or in court restructurings. So we did a variety of things. First, they had a quarterly newsletter already called the Reorganizer, but we really focused it on what businesses can do and taking use of the SBA tools that were coming out, what felt like daily. So we did a concerted newsletter which talked about all the updates that were going on and really quick tips too. On the left here, you're going to see the 10 early warning signs of financial distress. That was a marketing piece that we put together that allowed businesses to just really identify some of the red flags that were coming up. Whether it was, delays in collecting receivables or the forbearance that, a lot of people had questions on. And then the other piece was a call list. So again, they have a fairly sizable staff. A lot of them have overlapping connections. So we created a list that everyone was responsible for so that they really stayed connected and in front of people. And they've used this list for the last 12 months and they've continued it. So it was a really successful campaign. It was a really great example of how to stay out there and stay connected. The third tip is you need to embrace the virtual world. So I know that we all want to think that we're going to get out of this soon, and I want to believe it too. And it's exciting to see the vaccinations being distributed, but it's still here. We're still in it, and we're going to be in it for some time. I want to encourage everyone to not wait for it to turn around when it comes to your marketing. I think that life has really changed. Event-based programs are gone, and who knows when they're coming back. I think that people are going to want to be home for dinner more often and spend more time with their family more often, even when things go back to normal. And I think that physical offices will diminish. In fact, Berbay went virtual on February 1st, 2021, which is very exciting news. So you'll see, I think, a lot more physical office closures. So what do you do with this? I think that you need to, again, not wait for anything to turn around. So whatever you did physically, whatever you did in person, I want you to think about how you can turn it into a virtual form. So for example, if you were presenting a lot and you did a lot of lunch and learns and in-house speaking events, I want you to consider doing a webinar. I want you to consider doing a lunch and learn series. There's a lot of ways to get creative with this. If you are a dinner, drinks, cocktails type of person, there's also ways to get creative. We've seen a lot of success, and I'll show you on the next slide here. So for example, if you're in California, there are a ton of California wineries that are hosting virtual wine tastings. I know the networking group that I'm a member of, Provisors, we are doing, one of our events is a wine tasting. One of our clients who had a famous poker tournament every year and invited everyone to his house, clients, potential clients, he has now done a virtual poker event, which is great. And he had he would have different snacks and cigars and different things, and he has those delivered now. If you were a big presenter and you went to a lot of different organizations, events, all of the conferences that I know have now a virtual conference or annual conference, whatever, they have some sort of virtual version. So really consider presenting virtually, or at least participating virtually. As you can see here, we do a lot of virtual things like this webinar. We would do these in-house all the time. I don't slow down because things can't happen physically as much as I'd love to see people. So really get creative and think about how you can replicate this. Maybe it's a vlog. Maybe you want to start like a blog series of some sort via video. So there's other ways that are beyond sort of this slide, but just get creative. Okay, so the last tip here is I want you all to consider online. And I know some of you are probably rolling your eyes and thinking, people don't find me online. And I can talk to you for a long time about how that's probably not true. However, what I want to explain is that paid ads are really, really cheap now. A lot of paid ads are really cheap. So if you are considering entering the online market at some point, now's the time to do it, because prices are a lot lower. Again, this is some industries have not lowered in price, a lot have. So just consider it. There isn't as much competition for certain keywords, so the cost per click is way down. Traffic is up significantly, as I've mentioned, because people are spending more time online. And just really our clients that we've seen have gotten a lot of ROI from online ads. We actually did an analysis recently, and it showed an ROI of 30% that shifted to 55% over the last 12 months. So a pretty big jump in terms of people coming through the door. So what should you do? How should you try this out? You can run paid ads on Google. You can start very simply. You can run paid ads on Facebook or Instagram. These are fairly inexpensive initiatives that you can test out. You can do a 3-month campaign, even a smaller campaign, and see what it brings in the door. You can set a budget and a cap. So I'm not saying, spend all your money here, but it's a really good time to test the online market if you have not done so. If you're already marketing online and this is already a really important piece of your marketing, that's great. Consider expanding it. It's a real driver of leads. So a very important tip to consider. So maybe you go back to your desk and implement some of these things. Maybe you have your team help or your in-house marketing person help, or maybe you partner with an agency like Berbay. Either way, think about these tips and how you can achieve them on your own. I think even if one pearl of wisdom comes out of this is to do something consistently, to really stick to it, and really just trying to demonstrate your value and do it consistently. You need you need to demonstrate that value. You need that expert positioning, and really, especially during these trying, unprecedented, chaotic times. So I really appreciate everyone listening. Thank you so much. I do want to encourage you to suggest topics if you have any interesting ideas that you'd like me to present on. We're going to be doing these monthly. I really appreciate all the listeners. I saw a lot of familiar faces that have joined our webinars throughout the last 6 months. So thank you again. I'm available for questions if you need me. Here's my contact information. But thanks again for following us. Take care.